Hey, good morning. What's up, people? Today is day number 9, and we've been talking about a lot of different topics. The last few topics was Japanese war brides, and then we talked about feminism. If you guys are liking these videos, go ahead and like and subscribe, and comment also. I have gotten a few comments from people, suggestions to videos, what they thought about the videos. They either hit me on Facebook or they hit me on YouTube. So go ahead and do that if you're liking the videos. It's a great day. I think it's Friday. I just finished doing my little run, push-ups on the bridge. I'm ready to go and get this money in a little bit. So today, very beat. Had to do my meditation again so I can get down here. It's getting a lot harder. This bridge is kind of like that woman that's a feminist that'll laugh at you when you get halfway through. Like, no, you're not gonna make it. So like, that's my motivation. I look at her like she's that woman that will laugh at you and say, you're not going to make it towards the end. Because remember, these women that we're specifically talking about, they're not interested in you finishing. They're only interested in them finishing. Their goals, their careers. And so today's topic is male feminists. It's kind of like a part 2 to feminism. Thought it was only right to talk about the other half of that spectrum. And I've been there myself, being a male feminist, because guys, you got to understand, there's an egotistical thing that happens with men where if they don't understand something, they don't want to show that. We all have to act like we're so macho, we know everything, we're so intelligent. But these are some deep topics for me, and I know a lot of this stuff I didn't really understand. I had people that I came across that was dropping information, but it just wasn't sticking yet. So I think having a situation thrown directly in your face with somebody that's doing blatant things at you will kind of get you to the point where you really want to know why. So if you're one of those guys, then this channel is for you. If you're not, you don't want to know why, then most likely you're a male feminist and you're more interested in being agreeable with the woman as opposed to having a real type of relationship, whether they're your friend or whether they're your potential mate. You don't operate with them on the basis that they're perfect, they're good, just because they're a woman. And like I told you, I've been there, and I think a lot of this has to do with your upbringing. I want to big up the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. If you haven't read that, go pick it up. But myself, growing up, I had mom and dad, but I had 4 sisters. And I brought this up yesterday that if women are in control of the community, they're in charge of everything. The male loses his dominance, and that ends up happening. So I came from a family that has a lot of women. And we got some strong men, but they get overpowered because there's so many women. And so, for instance, like on small situations like dinner functions, a man tries to act intellectual around these type of scenarios where there's a majority of women. They want to bring it back to laughter and or something more serious at the time, and then go back to laughter when it's appropriate for them, because they need to have the spotlight on them. Okay, and I never understood that. I thought that they were cooler than the guys in my family, like my uncles, grandfathers. Some of them got taken out early, and we know why now. Men usually die before women. It's because of the amount of pain that we accept. So if we can change that and get away from this, we're just accepting the pain that they throw at us. We don't really have to put them through a test like they put us through a test on the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Then we're a male feminist. Okay? So I think I'm going to call this from male feminist to empathizer to a simp. Okay? And if you don't know what a simp is, please look it up. I encourage everybody to look things up. I wasn't fortunate enough to have YouTube and all this social phenomena that's happened over the internet over the last like 20 years or whatever. So I didn't take access totally of all this information. Okay, so you guys are really blessed to be able to have this information and be able to take it to the next level. So why a male feminist? Why are we talking about him? Because, well, yesterday we talked about a feminist. We went in deep, more into the psyche of how she basically wants acceptance without proving herself, in a sense. Okay? She's a woman. She doesn't want equality. She wants equity. So we know she wants an edge. Okay? She wants to have an edge. And so now if you don't give her that edge, now you're being offensive. Okay? I didn't go into sexism or objectification yesterday with feminism because I think those are just all operatives of the same kind of system that they use of basically accept me for what I am, and then we could talk about other things later, like as far as everything. So some of them have some really weird rules. You can't look at them directly in their eyes. You can't call them sexy. I've had some very interesting conversations. So, but we're talking about the male feminist, right? So the thing that's interesting about him is he's more destructive than the woman because, like, the woman knows that she can't really overpower a man physically. So she's trying to destroy you mentally and psychologically. Okay, and they do a pretty good job at that, unless you have access to this information. Okay, so but the man now, he's physical. Okay, and they're building these guys up. I think every 20 seconds, this social construct that we're living in is putting these babies out like every 20 seconds. And whether they're adult or whether they're newborn, the society praises men who praise women without them having to prove themselves. It's kind of this celebration like that I was talking about yesterday where whether the behavior of a woman is negative or positive, there's some cause for some celebration. Okay? So this physical guy, he's a male feminist. And the reason why I brought up myself is because I think this inherently happens when a guy is around a lot of women. I had a cousin of mine that he was around his sisters and his mother for a long time. And this creates a kind of simp in a sense, okay? They empathize with the woman. They start to have the characteristics of the woman. And in their transactions, when they're with the guys, they can go in and probably have a real good night or whatever's happening. But what happens is women have this kind of rule that it's some secret rule that they just don't they won't throw another woman under their bus to another man. And so the same rule applies to a man that's a feminist. If you're telling this person some negative stuff that's happening in your life or in other people's lives, and you can't really understand it, and you kind of just, bouncing back. You think it's one of your real guy buddies, and they give you the simp story. Like, well, that's okay. Women are still magnificent people, and it's going to work out, or whatever. So it's not the point of getting to the conclusion. A lot of the times we need to get to the middle. And so those people that are not willing to talk about that, those are the simps, okay? And if you get deeper and deeper in the conversation with them, they won't want to talk to you long, because they really get upset, because they've really inherently built up this nature about them that the woman is correct. She can do no harm. Remember, we talked about this, she's faultless, yesterday. And, like I said, they're putting these babies out every 20 seconds. The adults are being put out. And more, we're starting to see this in the media world. Like Steve Harvey is a big simp. His whole career explosion is based on his acceptance of women for what they are, as opposed to what they could be. And this is a big problem, because this guy's got a major platform, radio station, talk shows, and this is the guy that these women are exalting. And what happens also is other men that are simps, they end up going to get advice from this same guy. And so now we have like families being born, all of the proliferation of these simps. And so I said before, we'll start off with male feminist to empathizer or feminizer to a simp, okay? So, we talked about feminism, how it started. We know a guy coined the term. We know guys basically proliferated it because they needed them in the workplace, really. This whole entanglement of all this other stuff turned into another ordeal that we're kind of looking at the fragments of what's happened with feminism, and now we're trying to work it out, have better relationships, and thing of that sort. So in the beginning, people were like, that's cool. Okay, they want to work, they want to do this. They empathize with them. And then it turned to feminizers, where they got so many men involved that, and remember, we talked about all the different forms of government where we see nothing but women. That has a lot to do with it also. So what we start to see is this explosion is no different than the homosexual explosion. I have a belief that this all exploded. There's a lot of reasons, but I think one of the major reasons was money, okay? Some years back when I was doing mortgages in Fort Lauderdale, there was an area called Wilton Manors. It's about 12, 14 years ago that this was going to be a brand new area, but because it was supposed to be a strictly gay zone, this area was supposed to be a lot of money or whatever. So why am I bringing that up? Because there were men that I would meet back then. It started the explosion of the metrosexual. So in order to be around money, people think they have to have a metrosexual look. And then later on, we see those same metrosexuals turning gay later on, okay? So this is the same thing as a male feminist, okay? He's trying to fit in. He's trying to get some pussy. Definitely, he's a weasel. We can't trust him because he thinks that everything that he does is going to lead to a job opportunity with a woman or getting under her pants. Meanwhile, she uses him to basically, she uses him kind of as a barrier to breaking down the mask that these women wear. And then when we're gone, they throw him under the bus. He gets no pussy, he gets nothing, and he's just left there in the wind. But the thing that's weird about him is he continues to go back and forth, back to the same mentality, thinking that he's gonna get some play. But he never gets any play. You know what I'm saying? ¿Qué pasó?
¿Qué pasa?
Tranquilo. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasó?
¿Qué pasó?
¿Qué pasó? Yeah, tranquilo. Yeah, so Duke tried to play me just now, yo, but that's why I told you y'all gotta know the language, right? Cause see, he tried to tell me que pasa like I was a girl, right? Or maybe he made a mistake, but I'm gonna go back to my Spanish lessons. My people told me if you're talking to a girl, you say que pasa. If you're talking to a guy, you say que paso. So that's why I called him on that, all right, guys? But anyway, so, back to this male feminist. He will do anything to get some pussy. He's dangerous, okay? And like the problem, the biggest problem with him is that he gets more and more frustrated when he's around the women because he seldom gets any pussy. And if he does, he's got to do it in an instructive manner because now he's accepted the fact that he's a male feminist. And what I mean by instructive manner is where the woman, maybe they write down the details of like exactly what he's going to do. He's going to probably pull her hair after 5 minutes. It could get very technical, you know what I'm saying? But like, so this is what we're talking about with a male feminist, to a feminizer, and then to a simp. There was a story, I can't remember where this story happened, but there was a guy that he actually killed another man because his wife, because he stopped idolizing his wife. Okay, so these men are very dangerous, and like I said, most of them work in environments also where there's a lot of women around. Okay, I know a few men. I'm not gonna say too much because I'm gonna give away my position, but they work around a lot of women in really confined spaces. That has a lot to do with it as well, because if you're confined and you're a guy and you're around a woman, it's easier for them to kind of tame you, okay? And usually in those type of environments also, the guy, he tends to get in trouble a lot if he doesn't follow suit, okay? I can attest to that myself because like, I remember when I first started teaching, I was a substitute teacher in the public school system. And man, I'm a big guy. I walk upright. And anything that I did wrong, man, I was being watched. I remember I got written up one time because I was rapping with my students about the lesson plan. Now, I did that at a few other schools and they praised me. But at this school, I had some simps watching. You know what I mean? I had some feminists watching. So now what happens is when you get them both together, you're bound to be dealing with some courts, cops, and judges, okay? If it's not courts, cops, and judges, the guy's gonna just approach you, and probably try to get physical with you, okay? So, that's why we train, okay? If anybody wants to do martial science, I teach a few different forms. My system's called House. Just hit me up, okay? If you're local, if you're not, I'm passport ready. Just holler at me, all right? Let's make this happen. But We talked today about male feminists and how they went to a simp. Basically, they just will accept any behavior from a woman, thinking that it will get them some pussy, and or a job, or just a type of respect that they've learned to accept. And the reason why I say that accept, because it could be a mother, could be a sister that put this training on them, and after a while, they start to treat, and me myself included, you start to think that every woman is just like your sister or just like your mother. But meanwhile, you've never even evaluated your mother. You've never even evaluated your sister. And so these are the biggest problems, is because, if you've got a mother and you've never evaluated her, you're probably a male feminist, okay? If you have a sister you've never evaluated, you're probably a male feminist or a simp, okay? Because every woman needs to be evaluated. That's what we're talking about today. If you don't evaluate her, then you're a male feminist, okay? Because we talked about that before, as far as the feminism movement is all about the ability to show something that's not there, okay? No intellect, just action, okay? Which can be very dangerous, okay? I brought this up before. You'll be the blood on her trail. So you'll be the blood on that guy's trail, because the problem also with this guy is he needs you so that he can get some kind of like these guys nowadays. I don't know if there's any real rapper that has any street credibility, and I don't care to do any video on that, but all these are, back in the day, that was a conversation as far as a studio gangster versus a real gangster. And I don't think we've seen any gangsters probably since the 80s or the early 90s in that genre. But the simp is the same way. He needs guys that are alpha so that he can prove to the woman that he's a real guy, okay? Because, see, he can't just be the metrosexual, because then he gets put in the gay column, and there's no opportunity really to get sex unless he really, really weasels his way in there. And I've had a few situations like that where I was dating a woman, and there was supposedly her gay friend that she'd hang out with back at the dorm was strictly gay. But I remember telling this woman, this was decades ago, I told her, trust me, before I left there, it was in Connecticut, and I was like, listen, before I leave, I'll let you know that guy wants to fuck you. I don't give a fuck how he's looking at you, like when he's with all the other girls, oh, he's gay. Don't believe that shit. So about a week and a half later, she told me, she was like, yo, you won't believe this kid really tried me. She was like, you was right. And you would never think that, but because I've been blessed with a certain perception, I was able to see right through this guy's gay act, in a sense, okay? So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by this simp, okay? Evaluate him, okay? This is the same thing we need to do, just like how we've been talking about. We're looking at the psyche of the woman. We need to evaluate this simp, okay? Because he's dangerous. He's there as a barrier from you getting to these hot chicks, okay? That's why he's so dangerous, okay? And you know them right away, because as soon as you walk into the club or you walk into a bar, if you're alpha male, these guys get nervous. And it doesn't matter, I say this a lot, and I really didn't realize this, until you get on with life as you go on further and further. But I've been blessed to be around some really talented people. And one of my guys, I want to big him up. He's out in Port Charlotte. But I remember when we were still young, this guy was like a mentor to us. And we wanted to go to this club. And we asked him if he wanted to go with us. And he's like the older guy with us. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll roll with you guys. And so we're looking at him like, you don't want to change your clothes? And he's like, nah, I'm good. You know, he had on some like Jesus slippers on and like some real cut shorts and just a regular I think a t-shirt or a collared. Man, we go into the club, this guy pulls the baddest girl in there. But you know, back to this simp thing, when you with players, when you with people like that, you sometimes you notice the actions that they're able to do, but you notice how other people around them are acting also. And so now I became that guy in a sense, but I didn't understand what was happening. I thought like I just was intimidating, you know, I thought I was just intimidating because of my size, okay? So, but it's not your size, guys. It's what you know, okay? It's the fact that when you come inside the club, the women are like, oh shit, there he is. He's the one that can uncover my mask. And usually these guys that do PUA, these guys that do game, that's all they're doing. They're going into the club, they're pulling these girls' masks, and they take them home. And they have sex with them over and over again. But the simp is the one that wants to get in the way of that, okay? So, you know, be careful of the simps, because they will jump you, okay? I remember I was in a bar in Sarasota, and this woman wanted to go home with me, and she's like the baddest girl in there, and like I had a few friends with me that can attest to this, but before I get to the exit door, there's a guy that tells her girlfriends, hey, what's up with your girl? You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, there's a perfect simp, but see, I already knew in a sense that these guys were the simps, because as soon as I started talking to her, I mean, people were just kind of looking like, why is he talking to her, right? He doesn't really look like her type. So as soon as guys start thinking like that, guess what? They're a fucking simp, okay? And these guys are just not comfortable with other alpha males inside the room, okay? Because they know they're beta, they get overlooked. And that's the other problem with a simp, is he really can't function on his own. It's just like the feminist, okay? You know, we've been talking about how her psyche, the fact that she does all of this stuff, all as a means to an end, it's really because she can't do it on her own, okay? She needs to have another host to be able to proliferate all these emotions, thought, feelings, invoktions, okay? So the male feminist is the same way. So we got to be careful of this guy. He's dangerous. Let's be careful out there. Take care of your physical, your spiritual, and your mental. And this channel, again, is for people going through a divorce, men. We hardly get any support. So, you know, if you're liking these videos, go ahead and like and subscribe. And big up to the black, white, yellow, purple, whatever. Do your thing.